The cover-up is always worse than the crime. And in this scandal over Signal, my gosh, is that ever true? So let's start with what we know, okay? Jeffrey Goldberg, the editor of The Atlantic, was, we assume, accidentally added to a Signal messaging chain that included people like J.D. Vance, the vice president, and the defense secretary, Pete Hegseth, and the national security advisor, Mike Waltz. And what was happening in that Signal chain, as it became clear to Goldberg, was they were planning an attack against Houthi rebels in Yemen, which obviously came to pass. That's bad. Okay, like, first of all, you shouldn't have that conversation via Signal. Second of all, you definitely shouldn't accidentally add a reporter or a journalist to it, okay? That story is bad. That is a scandal. That is a big problem for an administration that has insisted that the past administration, the Biden administration, botched everything as it related to foreign policy and national security and were incompetent and didn't do things right. Well, this looks like incompetence, right? Gross incompetence. Okay, so it's a bad story. There's no way that accidentally adding a reporter to a Signal message chain in which you discuss a planned U.S. strike is going to be a positive story for you, okay? That's just politics. Sometimes there are good stories, sometimes there are bad stories, sometimes there are neutral stories that can go either way. This is a bad story out of the box every day of the week for every administration of any party and any president. Period, full stop. Okay. But bad stories happen. And the Trump people can point out and say, look, we're doing everything we can to make sure this doesn't happen again, but nothing was compromised. No lives were put in danger. Everything is fine, right? It's not a great answer. Not a great solution. It's still a bad story, but that's a sellable spin. Okay. But they have chosen, for reasons that are totally beyond me, although I'll suggest a few later, they have chosen to go an entirely different route. So first, as I've discussed on these videos, first you saw Donald Trump and Hegseth and Waltz, essentially, Mike Waltz, the national security advisor, essentially say like, well, I mean, this isn't even, we don't even know if this is a story. I don't know anything about it. It's made up. I don't know what happened. Like, no, the White House has confirmed that this happened. This isn't about Jeff Goldberg. This is about adding someone accidentally to what should be a secretive chain. Okay, so spin number one, as I said, made no sense. It just doesn't work, right? Goldberg is just a guy who got added to a chain. He didn't do anything. He didn't surreptitiously add himself. Okay, so that's number one. Number two in the cover-up is worse. What we've seen in the hours since this story was published, Mike Waltz can't seem to figure out how he added Jeff Goldberg to the chain. So on Tuesday night, Donald Trump is on Newsmax, and he gives an interview where he says a low-level staff, I'm paraphrasing, but barely, a low-level staffer to Mike Waltz, the national security advisor, apparently accidentally added Goldberg to this chain. But on the same night, on Tuesday night, Waltz is on Fox News with Laura Ingraham. And in that interview, Waltz says, no, a staffer did not add Goldberg to the Signal. But Waltz has said he is responsible for adding him. But Waltz also said in that interview with Laura Ingraham that it was just, you know how these things work. The name just got sucked up. That doesn't make any sense. What the hell does that mean? Sucked up? That's not how it works. Oh my gosh. All of a sudden I've been added to a Signal chain. No, of course not. So it's like a gang who can't shoot straight there. And so you get the president saying the national security advisor's low-level staffer did this. You have the national security advisor almost concurrently saying, actually, no, he didn't. So who did it? It seems very clear to me, as I said in an earlier video, Mike Waltz did this because he and Goldberg were either knew one another, were acquaintances, whatever, and he doesn't want to own up to it because Trump hates Goldberg because Goldberg is the guy who said, who reported that Trump said that people who died in the military in battle were suckers and losers. So Trump hates Goldberg and hates the Atlantic, and Waltz doesn't want to be the guy who had Goldberg in his signal chain because it makes him look bad. Right? Of course. Because it makes him look bad with Trump, because that would piss Trump off. Why do you even know that guy, right? Okay, but point is, it doesn't make any sense. Now, another cover-up worse than crime. Pete Hegseth and other folks have said, there's no classified information here. There were no attack information. All right, so basically what they were doing by saying that is they were daring the Atlantic to publish the full transcript of this signal chain because the Atlantic had initially held back on doing so because there were operational details in there that they felt were inappropriate. Okay, so Hegseth and the rest are saying, do it, publish it, I dare you. Well, on Wednesday, the Atlantic published it, and I just want to read a couple things from a Hegseth signal message, okay? I'm quoting here. 12:15 Eastern Time, F-18s launch, first strike package. 13:45, trigger-based F-18 first strike window starts. Target terrorist is at his known location, so should be on time. Also, strike drones launch, MQ-9s. 14:10, more F-18s launch, second strike package. 14:15, strike drones on target. This is when the first bombs will definitely drop pending earlier trigger-based targets. 15:36, F-18 second strike starts. Also, first sea-based Tomahawks launch. Now, I am not a national security expert, okay? I am not a classified information expert. But man, that feels like pretty detailed information, right? I've seen a number of debates online happening in the wake of the release of these signal messages, debating back and forth. Most people say this feels like classified information. The Hegseth and Waltz people are essentially saying, no, it's not. Like, there's no exact location. There's no, that this would be a much longer document. Some of that, I think, depends on whether you are a Trump person or not a Trump person. But that it's even on the line seems to me that you can't say there's definitely no classified information here or no battle or attack information. That seems to me like drones and when they're going to hit, and that's when they're going to be fired. I mean, let's just say that information, that Goldberg had published that information 4 hours before the strikes happened. I can't imagine the Trump people be like, that's fine, right? I mean, it seems kind of important information. So my broader point here is this was a bad story. It was always going to be a bad story. But what they have done in the 36 hours or so, I've lost count of the hours, since it came out, has made it so much worse. Solely because the Atlantic felt like they had to publish the transcript. Okay, well, now the transcript is out there. So that's another multiple day story. But also, Waltz's explanation of how he wound up having Goldberg on his phone and adding him makes no sense. He says he's never met him. He said Goldberg was not in his contacts. How the hell did the guy get there then? Waltz said in the same Laura Ingraham interview, he said, we're having Elon Musk look into it. It makes no sense. As I said before, Elon Musk. None of this stuff adds up. It doesn't pass the smell test, right? If you were trying to explain this to just a disinterested person, a person who knew nothing about it, it just doesn't make any sense, right? It seems totally out there. And nuts. And when it doesn't make sense, when a reasonable person who's not a wild partisan of one side or the other is like, that's when you're in trouble. That's when you're making things worse. What you have to do when there's a bad story is lump it. Take it, find the best, quickest way to get beyond it, and change the subject. And what the Trump administration has done, whether it's Donald Trump himself, Hegseth, Waltz, etc., they have made it infinitely worse and a longer story with more questions. And it seems to me like someone here is lying, is not telling the truth, at minimum, about how Jeff Goldberg got added to this, how he was even in the mix to be added to it. So just more questions being arisen, coming up every single day. Not what you want if you are the Trump administration. I mean, just a bad story that has been handled disastrously. Okay, that's it for me. I waited to the end because I want to pitch you on subscribe to this because I'm an independent journalist now. I'm calling balls and strikes no matter what uniform the batter at the plate is wearing. I'm transparent, I'm authentic, and it's only me. This is my office. I got no corporate backers. I got no billionaires behind me, just me. So I need your support. I also need you to, so subscribe. I also need you to like and comment on this video. They are helpful for the Google algorithm, the YouTube algorithm. They, help push my content out to people who aren't subscribers already. So if you can do that, I'd very much appreciate it. And last but not least, old school, tell a couple friends about what I'm doing here. This is important. Independent journalism matters now more than ever, and I need your support for it. Okay, everybody, take care.